I learned a couple of tricks about inside and back flags that I really want to share with you guys, but first, I got my new shoes back. If you remember from my video a couple weeks back, I dropped off my shoes to get resoled. It's been a few weeks and I finally got a text saying they were ready, so we picked them up before going to the gym to test them out. This is the new shoe. This is the shoe that I've been using as my backup. New shoe. So we're gonna go test out my new shoes and just see how it feels now that I've got a new sole on. And the cool thing about this is these are the gym soles I'm really excited to try. This has more of an edge than this shoe did when I first got it, because these are like a moderate shoe. Usually moderate shoes don't have super awesome edges, so I'm kind of excited to take advantage of that. It's a little bit more firm too. Essentially, these shoes are significantly better than my old shoes. I'm very happy about these. If you guys have a pair of shoes that are getting holes in the bottom of it, instead of getting a new pair of shoes and breaking them in, I was able to get a new sole. So I recommend, if you guys have the need for a new sole, to try resoling it instead of new shoes. Today, I wanted to share something that I recently learned with you about back flags and inside flags. As a quick summary, back flag is when you place your flagging leg behind the leg that has a foothold. An inside flag is when the leg that is flagging goes between the leg you have a foothold on with the wall. There's a bit more to it, but we'll get to that in a minute. Flagging is typically on an overhang wall, so let's look at this basic climb and break it down. First, I'm going to show you a way to climb this route, and then we're going to analyze it for improvements, so when you're in a situation like this, you can apply the same principles. Now that you've had a chance to review the climb, what problems did you see with the way I sent this route? Let's start by talking about the first move. I did a back flag, which means I did the right thing here, right? Well, when it comes to back flags and inside flags, whatever foot you're flagging with is the same as the side as the hand that is supposed to move. In this case, I flagged my left foot, but I moved with my right hand first. Though it worked out okay, I would have conserved more energy and made bigger progress on this route if I had gone out with my left hand instead. Now for the second move. An outside flag with the opposite hand is technically correct, but I missed an opportunity to get my hips closer to the wall, and thus I missed the opportunity to increase the weight on my feet. On short routes, little adjustments like this may seem like no big deal, but it can make a big difference if I'm near the end of my climbing session and need to conserve more energy. Now for the third hand move. I got my feet in a good position to support my base, and I did twist my hips for a decent drop knee, but like the second move, I missed the opportunity to really put my weight in my feet by getting my hips even closer to the wall. Once your body gets fatigued, like mine is at this point in the session, it can be really easy to miss these simple things, especially since getting your hips into the wall takes a lot of core tension. However, that is also the time you need to be especially careful and deliberate with your movements, because that's when you make the most progress with your habit of climbing technique. One quick mention of the Patreon. The launch special has 1 week left to go, so if you want to sign up, now is definitely the time. Go check out the links in the description below. Now for the fourth, and let's talk about fifth move since it's pretty much the same thing. Same as the third move, I had decent support in my feet and it worked, but I had to pull in on my arms and shoulders a little and didn't fully use my legs to support the body or this move overall. This isn't to say there's anything wrong with drop knees. If you can use both your feet to support yourself, it can be very valuable to do so. The biggest difference between the first time I did this climb and the second time is probably this first move. I did an inside flag, which ended up helping me get my hips really close to the wall with very little effort. This is great because at this point in the session, I am very exhausted. Going into the second move, I decided not to rearrange my feet. This is not technically the best way to have done that move, but considering conserving energy and efficiency, rearranging my feet was going to be very difficult with how fatigued I was. I made up for it a little bit in the next hold where I did decent flag and I was able to keep my arms straight most of the time, which made this a much more efficient route. I also finished with a back flag. This is pretty common for boulderers too, because it is a relatively easy way to balance the body and prevent it from swinging off while you're moving to it. And if you haven't started doing this when you're finishing your climb, it might be a good time to start. And if you add up the number of times that I moved on the first time doing this route compared to the number of adjustments and removing that I did on the second time, you can see that even though some of the movements were a little bit more powerful than they needed to be, it was certainly more efficient and took less energy to do overall. Now that we have a good idea of this route, and to be honest, I was just too tired to do it again, let's dive into inside flags a little bit more because I think they get neglected. I know they were neglected for me. I don't see a lot of people at the climbing gym using inside flags. I do see it in competitions, and so I was kind of wondering why. So I decided to do a route. At first, I was doing outside flags and back flags, but then I decided I was going to start using some more inside flags as well. And look at the difference between this flag and this flag. Besides the fact that one is a side flag and one is an inside flag, look at my hips. To get your hips in close to the wall with an inside flag is significantly easier than if you're doing a side flag. I did feel like an inside flag may be a solution, maybe a technique that I need to develop a little bit more so that I use it more readily, and maybe I'll be able to do these overhang climbs with a little bit less effort on my part because my legs are doing more of the work. An inside flag is not always going to be the solution. If you look at these big boulder holds, like this white one here, it actually gets in your way for some of the positions. Another reason that inside flags might not be used as often is because they can create a scrunchy situation. If my feet were higher than they are now, I wouldn't have this space between my legs and the wall. So keep that in mind. If you want to use an inside flag, but you feel like it's pushing you away from the wall, is probably because your feet are a little too high, at which point a back flag would probably be a better solution. I actually have a really fun project that I'm working on right now. It's about climbing harder than you can possibly climb or have even thought of climbing, and it's about sticking to those goals. I'm really excited to share with you guys. I'm not going to give any more information about this project, but definitely subscribe if you haven't already because I'm really excited to share this with you and I think you're going to love it.